All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm going to hand it off to Thor and Drew. Talk about editor UX matters. Gutenberg can help.
Thank you, Sean.
Yep. Feel free to type in questions in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end as well.
Yeah, and good morning, everyone. So as you can tell, because of like the labels, I'm Drew Gorton. We're going to talk here a little bit about this session here, which is Editor UX Matters. Gutenberg can help. One of the things that we were just chatting about actually was, other events and other gatherings and meetups and things. And I really look forward to getting together with all of us again someday, hopefully in the not too far future, to do these events in person. But one of the things that we have today is actually the digital platform does give us some options to interact in ways that we don't have that are quite as easy as the live in-person kind of events. And so Tor and I are really trying to take advantage of that today. And one of the things we want to do is really help guide this session around the kinds of experiences and knowledge that each of you have. And so right now, if I actually can click the buttons and talk at the same time, which is a little bit of an iffy prospect, you'll see that there's a poll I've just opened up, which did it work? Yeah, okay, awesome. Which is over there, and we'd love to hear just a little bit about you and your experience with Gutenberg and why you're kind of here in this session. And that'll help us tune this talk. And then as we go through, we've got, I think the time slot's like an hour. We have maybe prepared remarks that go for 20, 25 minutes. And then we have a whole series of like different, basically choose your own adventure. Like we can go into this details, we can go to these things and these things. And so we're going to ask all of you for what you want to hear. And whatever that is, we'll take the thing that's basically the highest scoring, and we'll be presenting on that. And then we can do follow-up conversations as people have them. So anyways, let's start, if you will, by filling out this poll. And then while you're doing that, Tor, Andre, and I will be doing our introductions. One other note, just on the interface and such, we have there's the chat window over there. Please use chat to like interact with each other, say good morning. Again, like actually, greet folks and say where you're coming from. I'm from Minneapolis, so I'm just coming from Norway. Say hi from where you're from. And yeah, awesome. Love it. Poll not working for me. Oh no. All right. So maybe Toronto, you can see what's going on there.
Yeah. Actually, I was trying. I mean,
it's in the poll.
Yeah, you need to select polls there in the next to the chat, between chat and people. But since
go. Thank you. Yes. All right. Awesome. This is how this is.
Yeah. Session.
It takes a community to pull off a camp. Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
And the other thing, over next to poll, there's a spot for Q&A. So it'll be difficult. So because there are two of us, Toronto and I will be trying to watch the chat. But when we get to actual questions, we're going to be looking at the questions Q&A spot. So because the chat will scroll through pretty quick and it's hard to do that back scroll. So if you have questions that you want us to address as part of like the formal Q&A, please put those over in Q&A as you have them. Anything else that's
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Okay, yeah, let's get into it. All right, so I'm Drew. Here's some things about me, right? So I've been doing Drupal for a long time, and you can find me on the internet in a lot of places as D. Gorton. When I am not doing this sort of thing, when I'm away from the computer, I enjoy a number of things, some stereotypically nerdy stuff like science fiction and board games and such. Also travel, love that, and I'm looking forward to, again, getting back out there in the world and being in person at these kinds of things. So not a lot of that recently, but I have been doing a lot more cooking, in the last year and a half is feed myself and my family. I'm really actually excited to be presenting today along with Tor Andre. I first met Tor at Drupal Europe, which was maybe 2018.
Something like that.
Yeah, in I feel like that was Darmstadt. Is it Germany? I don't know. Anyways, somewhere out in the world, and he gave a presentation on Gutenberg, and I came up to him afterwards and just peppered him with questions. And like, what about accessibility? What about like field mapping? What about all kinds of things? And And then, we talked and talked and talked, and, like lots and lots of conversations since then. He had good answers at the time, and they've gotten even better. And so as you have those questions today, again, like I expect us to be answering these kinds of questions for you. So please do chime in with your questions today, because again, we're here to help you learn and help us all grow as a community. One of the things I learned at that, like actually one of the questions I didn't ask right away, which I probably learned quite a bit later, is that Tor does not pronounce his name Thor, which was interesting to me. I called him Thor for a long time, but apparently, if you learn nothing else today, in Norwegian you actually say Tor, not Thor. So there's a little nugget of knowledge. Tor Andre, how about you? Let's go.
Yeah, my name is Tor André Gretland. I work in Frontcom, an open source focused digital agency spread across Europe. Our head office is in Fredrikstad, Norway, where I'm currently located. We're about 70 people working on digital projects, from strategy and design to implementation and maintenance. Yeah. And I've been working with Drupal for quite a while, and I'm also leading the Drupal Gutenberg development team. So, well, yeah, that's it. Let's move on.
All right. So let's see here. I think we've hopefully had enough time. I think if I do show results, did that actually do anything? No, this interface is confusing me. Show results. Go.
Yeah, also.
All right.
Is there someone that can help us out here with that one?
The results should be there, but I'm not sure. Can you see them?
I'm clicking show results, but I don't.
Maybe if you stop your share real quick, it'll come in. That's my guess.
I can do that.
All right. So I'm clicking show results. That happened, and does anybody see it?
No.
See it individually. All right. You can actually see the results in sessions, polls. Oh, I just don't see them. That's not helpful.
Here, I will help you out there because I can see them.
Thank you.
We have 3 votes for I've heard of it, 8 votes for I am Guten curious, 5 votes for I have used it, and 2 votes for I am skeptical.
Awesome. Okay, that's a great mix.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll get back to the screen sharing so that you'll see my presentation.
Thank you, everyone. All right, awesome. Well, I hope we have that's a great mix. I love it.
And it's back, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get started. So a couple of years back, we in Frontcom, we got a client that were already on Drupal. They had done a large Drupal project with an established Drupal company in Europe. And we don't know the exact numbers, but the cost of that project was, somewhere between $200,000 and $1 million. And when we looked at it, we saw a proper Drupal setup with lots of complexity, logic, and flexibility, but the client just couldn't use it. It was built on paragraphs. The site was very complex, and the amount of nested field sets just became very difficult to navigate. So their head of marketing said, I've years of experience with CMSs, and I've been working here now for 6 months, and my boss is telling me to create content, but I'm just not able to do it. So they had about 100 editors worldwide, and none of them were able to do what they wanted to do on the website. So we talked to our client, we sat down and said that the content creation needs to drastically improve. And they were like, yeah, we agree, but we're just not sure if Drupal is the right thing for us. Did we do the right choice here? So we gave them a demo of Drupal Gutenberg, where we could show their kind of content in a visual context. And we got wow responses. Is this really Drupal? Then I can like Drupal. That's the kind of thing they said. So let's have a quick look at some of that UI. It typically was something like this. It's a quick animation here showing some of these fields and heads up for that blue button in the bottom there, showing the save.
I'm curious if you can respond in chat. Like, how many of us have seen or built sites like this, right? I mean, like, it's doesn't take long to come up with something like that, and it's overwhelming. It's really difficult to know what those pages are going to look like. So Gutenberg. So first and foremost, actually, we're possibly using jargon here, which we probably should have introduced sooner. It's like Gutenberg is the editor that was pioneered with WordPress 5.0, which was goodness, now 3-ish, 4-ish years ago. It's actually used by WordPress as the default editor. If you look at the gutenstats.blog, like, we're pulling some numbers here. WordPress is powering 40%, approximately 40% of all websites today. It's a massive install base. And these stats are generated a little bit kind of like how Drupal's usage statistics are generated. There's a plugin called Jetpack, which is tracking this. So 70 million installations, hundreds of millions of posts actually written, several 100,000 written yesterday. So this is massively adopted. So this is definitely one of the things that just like to take away from this is that this is well tested, well used. There's a real serious development team working on this, and it's an impressive interface. As you know, someone these days, I'm more likely to write content than I am to create code. It's an enjoyable experience. And again, so like by adopting this in the Drupal version is just basically it's using that core and then basically connecting it into Drupal. But I think that's enough about like the meta of it. Torandre, let's just actually take a look at it, what it feels like to use.
Yeah, let's do it. So Gutenberg Editor, it's just another editor, but it's so much more still. So let's look at how that interface looks and works. So this is in Norwegian though, but I'm going in here to create a new node, and I'm opening Gutenberg here. I'll start by adding a heading here to the top. And below that, just going to first switch that to an H1, and then I'll paste some text, set that to be bold, set a slightly larger text font size there, pasting some more texts. And between those two paragraphs, I want to add something different. So I'll just find a photo here, and I'll just drag and drop this into Gutenberg. You see that it's loading. Now it's uploaded. And I can choose the alignment. So I'll set this to be right aligned. And you see the blue circular handlers there, which makes it possible for me to drag it as I would like to make it a bit smaller. Add a caption to the photo there. Just some nature, this photo. Let me see if I can just, there you go. And right below there, I'm going to add another Gutenberg block. So I start by adding just a forward leading slash, which gives me a live search. And I start typing gallery. And as soon as that's on the top of my list, I can just hit enter. Very nice way. So I'll just find the photos here that I will add to my gallery. These 4, and then I'll hit select. And you can see that it's getting some nice styling out of the box. I'm able to move the images back and forth. In the sidebar, I have some extra options, so I can choose to have 4 columns instead of 3, or I can move down to 2 if I would like, even 1, even though it's going to bloat my article slightly here. So I'll just go back to 4 demo here. So there. And then below here, I'll just start typing some text. And after, even though I just start typing, I can now convert this into an actual quote. So I just go up here. I say that I will transform it to a quote. And then I get an additional field below where I can input the name of the ones being quoted. And yeah, now I can also, it's some drag and drop functionality here that I can just drag it up to where I want it in the article. But usually I like the arrows. You can see that the focus is following the block that I'm working with. It's kind of nice, the UX of that. So yeah, there. That's it. That's a very brief starting point. And so I know that some of you are thinking, I would never, ever let my authors into something that gives this kind of flexibility. I mean, we obviously don't want people to choose their own font size or font color for text in an article, just as they choose. And just to say it, this was a demo for showing all of the possibilities and what you could do there. And in real life, what we do when we start up a new project using Gutenberg is that we start by stripping down the functionality to a minimal. There's about almost 100 Gutenberg blocks that comes with Gutenberg when you install it. So we just start by removing as much as possible, make it very minimalistic, and then we start building out from there to make it fit with the design that we have. So yeah, that was a short demo.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm curious, like, and in the chat, like, because we can't actually see you, I'm curious for those of you whom Gutenberg, like, actually seeing it in action is new. I would love to see reactions in the chat, and just your thoughts on having seen that interface. Yes, it's true that there's a lot of flexibility, but it's also actually compellingly, as a person, again, like, who's more likely to create content than code, it's really nice. And it, that's my own personal experience, certainly. But let's talk about why. I'm here presenting alongside, representing, I work at Pantheon. We're not producing, we don't build Drupal sites for folks, but I care about this because I think websites have a job to do, right? Like, real websites in the real world exist to accomplish something. And by that, I mean, so, like, a bunch of different possible examples, what that might mean. So ad impressions or revenue, or e-commerce, or lead generation, or reaching a certain number of audiences, or daily active users. Like, these are all the kinds of things that real professional websites have to do. Tonda, if you wouldn't mind going forward a slide. So these things, like, websites exist. It's no longer the case, websites 20 years ago where you just, like, yay, you produced it, your website exists. No, they all have a job to do. And in the real world, these jobs are very much a team endeavor, right? So it is not just designers, it's not just developers, it's not just the marketing stakeholders who are trying to demonstrate ROI on things. You need to have the content creators, you need to have the users, need to have a great experience. Websites are a really interesting co-creation of developers, designers, content authors, the people, the visitors to your site who are contributing by adding comments, by checking out, by signing up for newsletters, by doing, donating, all of those things. And if we don't give our editors a great experience, we're basically undercutting the success and the potential success of the website. And I think again, like, that's, coming back to our title, the editor experience really matters. And I think for many of us, as we're building sites, it's one of the things that's often overlooked. And while paragraphs, for example, is a really powerful module, and you can do a lot of cool things with it, the experience of using it, if you think back to the brief animation that Torandre showed at the beginning, can be really difficult. Like the experience for the editor is often like, all right, I'm just going to typing stuff into all these fields. I'm going to click save. I'm going to go look at it. I really don't know what it's going to look like at the end of the day. I hope it's okay. And that kind of feeling leads to a sense of like, kind of basically fear to edit the website. And when that takes hold, that is like the beginning of the end for that website. And Gutenberg really can help with that. So, if you have ambitions, right, we need to give people effective tools.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, and yeah, why? Basically, because if you want them to really perform, they should be able to focus on exactly that. You can't really force people to do an excellent job. They gotta love it. So what we usually do then is to provide people with, nice work areas, a company culture, nice colleagues and tools that they need. And altogether, that ambience creates an excellent place to grow and focus. Now, for example, let's look at an example job ad. We're looking for a senior journalist. It has to be great. You need editorial judgment. You need to be creative and have writing skills and master SEO and so on, and mastering content production and nurturing in Drupal. Now, what's wrong with this job ad? Probably several things. It's just an example, but in Drupal, you shouldn't really have any experience working with Drupal to be able to produce content in Drupal, if that's your job as a journalist. So our vision is that Drupal should be the most user-friendly enterprise CMS. Drupal should basically be easy to use for newcomers. So, and we've run this by a number of clients. I think since we started developing Drupal Gutenberg, I don't think we've set up a single Drupal website, all the ones that we've done, without Gutenberg. So, there is definitely a market for this. And this is what they say, we want this now, and Drupal needs this. Wow, things evolve. This is excellent, So, yeah, I think definitely that it's interesting. And I see some interesting questions coming in here also. And that might be relevant when we're coming to this part of the session.
All right, so now we've had the overview, right? So we've hopefully all of us have a sense for what this looks like and what could feel like. We have the remainder of our time basically to explore probably just one of these different options. So I've just opened another poll. Again, hopefully everyone can see it. Can someone verify that for me in the chat? But we're going to run through 4 different potential things that we could talk about next. So one is about layout mapping with layout templates with field mapping, and that means you want to have the title go into the title field, you want to have the teaser go into the teaser field, you want to have the image go into the image field. That's obviously in Drupal we really love our fielded our individual bits and pieces of data. So those the fielding of that data is really important, and feeds views and other things like that. So how to set that up with Gutenberg? That's one thing. Another one is how to get started with developing custom blocks. If you're in more of the sort of all right, I want to do this. I want to know how to get, I've got custom cases. We can absolutely talk about that. A third one is implementing views. How do you actually get a view into Gutenberg? Turns out it's actually pretty straightforward. But again, that's really powerful. And then the last thing is how to get started. So what would it take to go from no Gutenberg on your site today to implementing it on a single content type? And that one in particular is one of the things that if we don't go down that path, I would say one of the easy things. One of the things that's possible is you can set up Gutenberg on a single content type on a single site and just experiment, right? It doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. And so, for example, if you're upgrading someone to Drupal 9, maybe is part of one of the things that you might try is put Gutenberg on the blog post type or on the article type or on something like that, and just experiment with it and do it for your own site perhaps even first. So that anyways, the fourth option is more about that. So let's see here. Did it actually work while I was talking? Do we have
yeah, we have 5 for layout templates, 1 for how to get started with custom blocks, 2 for implementing views, and 3 for how to get started installation.
All right, so that sounds like the mapping the fields. We'll give people maybe another 1 minute, 2 minutes, something like that to chime in.
Yeah, it doesn't. It seems like we're 28. Doesn't add up to that at least. So great to get some more votes in.
Yeah, awesome. And just one more plug while people are putting those things. There are some questions that have started to show in chat. If you could put your question, like the formal questions, into the Q&A, because I want to make sure we address those. And like the chat scroll is moving pretty quick. We've got a question about accessibility. Awesome, looking forward to that.
Oh yeah.
There is actually, Lee, I'll put a link to the latest, greatest accessibility report. The short answer there is accessibility used to be like when Gutenberg first rolled out 3-4 years ago, accessibility was not great. It was problematic, frankly, and it was a very disappointing rollout, in my opinion. But there's been a lot of investment in usability, accessibility, other things, and there's been a tremendous amount of progress. And I can paste in the link. And at this point in time, I think the accessibility is actually quite good. Relatively speaking. So
yeah, I'd say so too. I mean, and some of the things that keeps coming back in the reports there, also from the early days, is just the amount of options you get, all the time when you're inserting something. And what we usually there in real life scenarios with setups we do for clients is to, as a part of that, as I mentioned earlier, go in there, remove most of the options. I mean, there are so many options in there, so many blocks that you'll never use. And just by simply removing that creates a much cleaner interface and so much easier accessibility-wise also. You don't have to go through this list of 80 different blocks, for example, things like that. So yeah, definitely. Okay, so how is it looking now? The results.
Yeah, just got a few more, so it's now up to 11. So that seems to be the clear winner.
We're doing it.
That's a winner. Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. So, typically, as generally, when you are building a website and when you're doing that design process, you want to make sure that you have some consistency. Like, for example, if you have an article content type, you don't want people to freely be able to put everything everywhere. It could look something like this. We have a design here with a featured image in the top. We do have a byline under there published by someone at some date. And there's a title, and you have a leading paragraph, which could be something like a teaser, maybe, excerpt. And then you have the actual article content below there. And what you can do then is in Gutenberg, if you go to the edit page for the content type that Gutenberg is activated, you'll find something like this, a field for defining a template. Yeah, and the UI for this is not great. You have to set up a separate JSON structure, as you can see in the example here. So we're looking into how we could create sort of a great UI for that somewhere in the future. But it's pretty straightforward, and on the documentation pages for Drupal Gutenberg, you'll find some examples that you could use here and copy paste in to make this work. But basically, if you look at this, the template here, and now I'm talking about the layout template for the article content type, is here saying that in the beginning of my article, I want to have an image field. I want to have an image there in the top, and below that, I would like to use a text paragraph, and the placeholder for that should be something like, for example, leading paragraph, as we can see there. And that could have a slightly increased font size, for example. And then those parameters will be all set. Below that, we have something called a Drupal section, which will basically be the place where you can add as many blocks as you would like. Below that, basically the rest of the content for this article. And also we have something called a template lock. And what that means is you're able to define how flexible this will be from the starting point. If you set none there, there's nothing being locked. You come into that article or create that new node, and you see that there's an image field in the top, but you can move it around or you can fully remove it if you want. If you set all, like we do here and like we often do for content types like that, which really require a very specific order and layout, then you're able to insert a photo in that and insert the text for the leading paragraph, and then do whatever you want with the actual content, like a typical regular article. You can also go for an insert mode where the order is defined, but you're able to put optional things in between, for example, for special content types. And that only says something about the order, the layout, right? So let's look at how we could actually map the content from Gutenberg in, because if we look at the data model for Gutenberg, the actual content in Gutenberg is stored in a body field, like it would be with CK Editor, for example. But often, if you want to have these content types and break them out, put them into views, for example, you would like to get this data structured in a very typical Drupal way, right? So that you could fetch the data from Drupal fields. So for example, here, I would like to get the text here from the teaser into a teaser field, an excerpt. And how would that look? Well, it's a part of the same template field, but you can see that we're adding some attributes for each of the lines here. So for example, for my core image, I'm using the mapping fields parameter to say that this image should also go into the Drupal field called field image. That's the machine name for that field. And there are some mandatory properties for that to make sure that it works. And for that next text, we need to do the same. We add mapping fields in the end there and say that this text should go into the field excerpt, for example, or some other field. So that's how it works actually, and yeah, it's quite flexible in that way. You could of course do the same with headings and other fields. And yeah, that's it basically. We could have a quick look now at how you would find some more resources and getting into this. Let's just go here to quickly the project page. Let's see here, if you go to documentation for all Gutenberg versions in the sidebar, you will see that if I scroll a bit down here, we will find page templates and field mapping. So if I go into page templates here, you'll find some of these slides already, showing a bit how it works. And there is some JSON structure here to copy paste and play around with. And here you can see how this example would look with a title in the top and then an image field and then some text below. Now, if I go to the field mapping, you would find some examples here on how you can actually get this to work. Here you see an example with a heading, for example, how you can map that. And for all of this, we would be super, super happy about getting some proper feedback from you all when you're trying to do this the first time, so we can make sure that our documentation is great for people that start to play around with these things.
Awesome. Thank
And
you.
that's all.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. We do have a couple questions. I did actually put a more detailed answer into the accessibility question that Lee had asked, and I think conversationally in the chat looked like a few folks had questions around that. So there's some links to more information there. And then we have one, which is, are Gutenberg components built on the backend in a similar way as the field UI? And that's also, I just saw, like in the scroll of the chat, I did see people asking about relationship to layout builder and or CK editor, like what's, like help me understand these things. So Tor, do you want to take a crack at like how should people conceptually think about these things, and then how is the actual storage happening?
Yeah, I mean, when we install Gutenberg on our website, if it's a complicated site with several content types, we usually don't implement Gutenberg on all content types. Actually, if it's a basic content type or a very field-heavy content type with lots and lots of fields and parameters, that could just work very well with the regular Drupal UI. And then if there's one of those fields is something that would work nicely, or you need some basic Visivig configuration, we just use CK Editor for that. But for content types like articles and landing pages and maybe events, things like that, then we almost always use Gutenberg. So there's no problem of mixing that. Of course, we want it to be, the user experience. We want consistency in that. But for the larger sites, typically it will be different people working on the different aspects. And in real life, we're actually working on quite different kinds of content anyway, where we feel that it really makes sense when you start building Gutenberg landing pages, for example, or an article, to get into that clear white area space, which represents the actual front end closer than what you get with CK, for example.
Awesome, thank you. And actually I realized maybe I lumped together some questions. Are Gutenberg components built on the backend in a similar way as the field UI?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm not a developer to answer that, but I can say that Gutenberg blocks, they are built on React components.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just want to play around with that, one of the other questions here was to talk about how you can start developing your own custom blocks. And actually, I could show some slides for that. But you would basically need some JavaScript knowledge. Obviously, you need that. But you don't need that much React experience, because when you use Gutenberg, that comes with the basic components. And if you just stick to them, you'll be fine. One component there could be, for example, rich text, which is what we use for inserting text. Others could be the image uploader or video uploader, and so on. And these React components, they are only used for the editor or the backend experience when actually creating the content. Because when you build out the front end part for end users on that's only HTML. So that's that should be fine. Not sure if that answered it though. I'm not really working as a developer, so. But if you really want to get into the details, of course, you could check out the general documentation or reach out straight to Marco, the lead developer there for Drupal Gutenberg, either in the issue queue or just marco@frontcom.com.
And if you happen to be on the Twitters, you could, if you at either Tor Andre or myself, feel free, like we can hook you up with the right person. I suppose actually maybe I'm at D Gorton. You can also email me. That's fine.
Yeah.
Or I'll put this into. If only I can type. So feel free to email if you didn't catch those email addresses or the contact things there. All right. So let's see what else. And also, Sean, can you? I believe we have, like, the next session doesn't start until the top of the hour, but I know that we don't want to use all of that time. What's the guidance on? Or Amy June, I think you're here as well. What? How long are we before we're supposed to shut up?
I think we got about 5 more minutes.
Okay, great.
So we also got. We could actually just quickly show how to install and get rolling, if that's interesting.
I think that was the second
number 2, right?
Yeah,
I think
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do that one quick too. Okay.
So I got some help here from Pantheon to set up a nice Drupal site here, which is basically just Drupal core with Gutenberg installed. So I just install Gutenberg here like any other module, and I just install it like this. And you can see here, after I've done this, I need to activate it on the content type edit page. So in this case here, I go to structure and find my content type. I will activate it here now for the article content type. Could have been basic page also, but I'm just hitting edit for that. And down here in the bottom, I will find Gutenberg Experience. Once I enable that, you see that the template field we just talked about shows up here. I'm going to leave that for now. And you can also see, and this is what I'm talking about. When I just open here the allowed Gutenberg blocks, you can see that the list is quite long. So then when we set up this for a new client on a development server, we turn off everything we know that we will never need. I mean, free-form HTML. I mean, most people don't need that. So we just turn it off. You can see there's a bunch of embed solutions also supported here. And I can also activate regular Drupal blocks to be available in Gutenberg. So for example, we could activate some active views, for example, who's online and recent content. And I will just save my content type.
And Tor, while that's happening, do all views show up in that?
Only views that has has a block display. So you just you go into that view and just create a block display of it if needed.
Yeah.
So I'll just go here, add content, and now if I choose article, I will see that Gutenberg is spinning up here, and then I can start just creating my content. This is my title, and I'll just convert that to a heading. And below there, if I start, for example, pretending a bullet one, and so on. And the same here, if I just type 1 and then space, it will create that into a numbered list. Numbered list. Second. And then if I use that forward leading slash again, I could go there for example, a cover block, which I probably want to use there in the top, but I'm going to add it now. It's requires photos. I'll just go in here and use one of those uploaded early. Won't look great though. And then I can add some text on top of that. Hey, look at this. Capitalized L. And in this block here then, I have some options in the sidebar. I could, choose the focal point for this photo. And I could also go in here and choose the color for the overlay. If I wanted to be blue or orange instead, and then choose the opacity for that to make it work. And then again, this is things that you are able to restrict for your site. So for example, this custom color thingy, you don't want that. You don't want people going in here and choosing whatever color they like. And it's quite easy to actually say that the color palette that we see here, you can define that straight from your Drupal theme. So you're fetching actual project implemented colors here. That's quite easy. You'll find that in documentation. And let's also then try to, if I just type view here, I'll just get those 2 views that I activated. For example, recent content. And you can see that it's actually loading, showing a couple of articles that I've created earlier today. And also in the end here, I can find that. Okay, now where is it? View who's online. And that's only me though, but you can see that it's still working. So Drupal camp test, save that. And you can see, it obviously needs some styling, but this is just the standard Drupal theme anyway. So it's working here. You can see my content coming in and the who's online there in the bottom. So that's it. Another, we're over time. I'll stop.
We just had time. There's actually one more question that came in, which is from Lee Walker. Are there other Drupal contra modules that you always use with Gutenberg?
Ooh.
That's a good question. I mean, there are some blocks that I would use on that we use on like 95% of all Drupal sites, but it's not related to Gutenberg, I think. No, I mean we one interesting project was that we created a small module called auto title some time back, just to be able to basically replicate what you find in a Google Doc. You know, when you start creating, you can start working on that without even creating a title for that document at all, right? You know, it just saved us untitled document, something like that. And but what that does is that you get into the Gutenberg UI and you start creating your content, and it basically fetches your first heading and populates that into the node heading field, which is quite interesting. And if it doesn't find an H1, it's going to search for the H2 and so on. And if there's no headings at all, it basically just calls it untitled and then content type name, right? So yeah, that's if you want to replicate that, that's interesting. Also, since accessibility has been mentioned, we could also, oh no, the wrong, see here now. Could also show you quickly a couple of nice features to actually help out the end users for actually doing that, to make sure that they have accessibility correct and so on. So a title here, some text, another title. Then I'm going to set that to be switching that to an H1, and you know, some text. And here, if I go up here and look at this block navigation, I'm able to see which ones I have, so I can skip to it, but the information here shows basically the document outline. So it looks very basic at the moment, but it's a nice tool to check if your structure is correctly according to how you're working with the titles in general, and making sure that you have a structure with the H1s first and then the 2, 3, and so on. There's a couple of nice things like this. Yeah,
That's great.
Also,
Awesome. I think Sean's trying to tell us we're at time. So
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
thank everyone for showing up. Like we've got 10 minutes before the next session. Thank you everyone for joining. If you're interested in talking, we I don't know if there's a BOF set. Actually, Sean, is that, I forgot to ask this before we started our session. Or
I'm not aware if there are BOFs, but I know you can do meetings with people in Hopin. So maybe that's another route.
Anyways, we're happy to chat more with all of you about this. So thank you so much for your time. I hope that you learned something, you try something out. And again, like, this is not necessarily an all or nothing. It's not every single client, every single project, every single content type, right? So, but this might be something that you could put to work on your own personal site. Just try it out. Or like, again, like Toronto was saying, like, one of your clients, you're going back, you're upgrading to Drupal 9, put it on the, if there's a landing page or a blog kind of type, that might be worth experimenting with. And as you just saw, like the time it takes to get something together pretty quick. I mean, like, that was a live demo. That was like, it took 6 minutes, and obviously he knew what he was doing, but it's not a massive lift to try this out. So anyways, I'll shut up now. Sean, what's up next?
It's all good. Yeah. So thank you again to Andre and Drew. It seems like we could talk about this probably for an entire day with the way it was going. So really appreciate it, and looking forward to looking into this some more. So there's a little bit of a time for a break right now in the expo hall and networking opportunities there. And then our next actual event on the calendar here is our featured session on the stage, How to Win in Arguments by Jordana Fung. So please do check that out, and stick around for all the great sessions throughout the day. Thanks so much again.
Thanks so much, everyone. Nice to be here.